What if your life was an invitation and everything wasn't just happening to you, but through you? When you start to believe in the magic of you, you become it. This is your invitation to heal and rise above into the fullest expression of you. This is the Liz Swadek Show, and your transformation starts now. Let's begin.
Nicole, thank you so much for coming on the show. My new Liz Swadek show. We went to lunch. We reconnected after a really long time. I didn't even really know your story, but God, when you told me your story, I was like, "Will you come on this podcast and tell the story?" Because truly, it is a story of intuition, following your intuition, of not listening when the doctors tell you this and that, and tell you the worst, and the power of meditation and your mind and all the things, Nicole.
All of
So
it.
let's start with this. When the doctors told you, because you were pregnant with twins, when the doctors told you to terminate baby B, as he was called, right? You refused. You flat refused. What inside of you knew to fight for your son, even when the experts were telling you otherwise?
Before he completed the sentence, "You have to terminate baby B," I was saying no. It didn't
That
occur
wasn't
to
even
me.
gonna happen.
It was not gonna happen. It didn't occur to me at all to take that advice. Then I went home, of course, and I thought for a second, and I just, for some reason, believed that I could call forth a miracle and save this child's life. I just believed that I could.
Yeah.
And I started calling my friends, my yogi friends, my religious friends, everybody, and especially my yogi friends were saying, "I know an angel healer you need to talk to. I know a shaman you need to talk to." Also, at this time, I was meditating a lot every single day and had been for months, and so I leaned more into my teacher, etcetera, but it never occurred to me for 1 second to take that advice.
Yeah. So when I was filling out all the information about you and I got your information form, you said, you went from maiden to mother. I fucking love that. Like, that just to me, that was like, "Oh, that she just titled my she just titled my podcast, and she just wrote her book." I love it. It's really a transformation that reshaped you at the deepest level, though. So what
Yeah.
parts of yourself did you have to let go of? Because, I know you and you are a meditator. But I also know you as a woman who gets shit done, who likes to have things together, right?
Yes.
So what
Yes.
did you have to let go of? What parts did you have to kind of free yourself from so you could actually save this baby's life?
I'm an Aries sun and moon. So I'm a ram, and in the beginning, I was really holding on to, when you're experiencing fear, it's your body's indication to do something. And I was like, "What am I gonna do?" And I decided to be brave, which does not mean that you're not afraid. It means that you're afraid and you just keep on going. So, but I was really holding on to it. Started at week 22 of the pregnancy, and the babies came at 34 weeks. So 3 months. I was really holding on tight to, I will not be okay if this baby's not okay. This baby has to be okay, or I might lose my mind and not come back from it. And then, and this went all the way up to the night before the babies were born. And at some point, I stopped working altogether and started meditating 8 to 10 hours a day, all day long, and just all the way in. Then I was like, Joe Dispenza, mind body connection. I'm going to change the physical reality through my meditation and my thoughts and sound current, etc. The night before the babies were born, I had this overwhelming sensation that I had never had before in my life. I think it's what people would refer to as surrender. Like, I just suddenly knew that whatever happened the next day, I was gonna be okay, and I
Mm.
had certainly not felt that way leading up to that, and that is, really surrendering to the divine path or the divine plan that I've been put in this situation for a reason. and it's all gonna play out. And I said to my husband, "I surrender. Whatever happens tomorrow, we're all gonna be okay." And he kinda panicked and was like, "Well, don't give up." And I was like, That's not what that is. I'm not giving up. I just know that we're gonna be okay." Even though I still didn't know what the outcome was gonna be.
Yeah. What was the initial diagnosis that they even gave? Like, how did you even know there was something going on?
So, I was 41 years old and I was having twins. So, by all measures, it's a high risk pregnancy. So, if you're having a high risk pregnancy, you go to a fancy doctor called a perinatologist, and they have the fancier machines where they can get a better view of what's going on inside the womb. And I went to a doctor that my OBGYN said is the best. If my sister was having a baby, I would send her to this person. And he very meticulously, used his machine to look inside and said, the child has heart disease and the umbilical cord is not functioning properly, nor is his placenta. The following morning, and you have to terminate baby B. And I said, I'm not going to terminate him. But the following morning, I went to see a pediatric cardiologist. They also have the very fancy ultrasound machine so that they can really get a good look. And he and his lab tech did an ultrasound and confirmed the baby has hypoplastic left heart. That means that one chamber of the heart is smaller than the other, and the heart can't move back and forth as it should. And he explained the baby's heart is beating, you can see it on the screen because he's connected to you in the womb. If he survives the pregnancy, his heart probably won't be able to beat outside. There's like a series of life-saving surgeries that they do for children born with this heart disease, and the first one is at birth, but they'll only do that surgery for a baby that weighs at least 4 pounds. This baby was also the umbilical cord wasn't functioning, so he's growth restricted. So that doctor said if if he survives the pregnancy, then he'll likely be 2 pounds at birth, which is what ended up happening.
Wow. Wow. And so, I mean, I can only imagine this is your first pregnancy.
Yeah.
You're 40 damn one.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind, you've waited, right? Like, you weren't really
Mhm.
totally sure if you were even gonna have children. I remember we talked about that. You were like, "I'm not sure," and then you finally are like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this damn thing."
Mhm.
And it's happening, and now never in your wildest imagination could you be having
Yeah.
this level of news hurled at you. And
Mhm.
the worst thing is, when you were telling me the story, it wasn't just like one doctor said it.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
multiple doctors giving you the
Mhm.
most doom-filled diagnosis I've ever heard anyone have. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'll say this, plenty of women have loss during pregnancy, and I imagine that it's really terrible. When I was 22 weeks pregnant and the doctor said, "You have to terminate this pregnancy," for more than a month, I could feel both of the babies kicking every day, moving around, responding to my voice or the sound of my husband's voice or music that I was playing, meditations that I was doing. So there's a really deep connection when you've been feeling these babies in your belly for over 6 weeks basically at this point. And I actually had one doctor say, "Are you a religious person?" And I don't consider myself religious, but I kinda got where he was going, so I just said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, are you reasonable?"
Ooh.
Yeah.
First of all,
And
don't ever ask a woman who's reasonable
yeah. Well, my
because
definition of reasonable and yours, sir, are likely different.
that to me is like, are you willing to diminish yourself and make yourself smaller? That's the
Right.
same thing as, are you reasonable? So, yeah.
Correct,
Moving
correct.
moving on, Nicole, just so we can write some. Go ahead.
So, listen, I heard what the doctor said. He has heart disease, his umbilical cord's not functioning. I believed truly and deeply that I could change those things. I believed that through my meditation and mind body connection, I could change the shape of his heart and potentially the placenta and umbilical cord. At this point, I found a new perinatologist, and so after I saw the pediatric cardiologist, I said, "Hey, you gotta recommend a new perinatologist. The one that I'm seeing isn't right for me." I ended up in the hospital because I also needed to get a cerclage, which is when your cervix is short and you're at risk of it opening prematurely and the baby's coming out. And so I was in the hospital for a week recovering from the cerclage, which is a very long time. And the original doctor who told me to terminate came in every single day. "You're a smart woman, aren't you?" you understand what I'm saying, don't you?" Like, really sort of putting me down, belittling me, that I wasn't smart enough to understand that I needed to take his advice and do what he was telling me. And I said to him, "I believe that I can call forth a miracle." And he said, "If you do, you let me know how you pulled it off." Just very condescending, very aggressive. And so I later asked the cardiologist, "Listen, I need a new perinatologist, and it has to be a woman and preferably a mother," in the hopes that that person would have more empathy for the situation that I was in, and she did, and she was utterly spectacular, and she was roughly my age, also pregnant for the first time, and she simply said to me, she was also much younger than the first doctor. She said to me, "I'm going to give you medical facts, and you're going to tell me what we're gonna do with that information." Correct. That's right. For all pregnant women, for any patient of any stripe, a doctor should give you medical information and you should decide what you're going to do with that. And her information was the same. The child has heart disease, the umbilical cord's not functioning. She said to me, "If you are still pregnant at 34 weeks gestation, I'll check you into the hospital and we'll put the heart monitors on the babies and we'll watch you and we'll deliver when we can." And the 34-week thing was because we might be able to save their lives if we get there. And if we don't get there, we're likely not going to be able to save these children's lives.
I mean, this whole story is so incredible, and of course, it's making me think of Landon because my birth story with Landon
Yeah.
was absolutely complicated, and one of the things and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because if I had not listened to my intuition,
Yes.
Landon would not be alive.
Correct.
Um, and if he had not fought for his own life,
Correct.
because if he had not stuck his arm up through the cord that was wrapped around his neck a bunch of times,
Yep.
I wouldn't have known because he literally stopped moving. So,
Hmm.
and I even remember a point where I told to Brett that I thought, I feel like I felt like a struggle and then stop. And that scared me. I was like, what is
Yeah.
this? But mothers are so good, right? We're not paranoid. We know, right? We have intuition. And so I love the way the whole time, no matter what these people are saying to you, you in your heart of hearts were like, I really don't think I'm the crazy one here. And you
Hmm.
just kept going and going.
Hmm.
Even with that, though, what did you have to even do to yourself?
Yeah.
Get yourself to actually do this because now you've got these doctors who are against you. Now you finally got this doctor who's on your side, obviously, or at least she's on the side of a rational person, it seems to me.
Yeah.
Um, what did you have to kind of do for yourself so that you could actually do this work? Because this was going to take a lot of dedication, 8 to 10 hours a day of meditating, that spiritual, that mental commitment.
Hmm.
Like, people can't even understand what we're saying right now, right, Nicole? But
Yes, and I have to say, I started learning how to meditate when I was 25, and I was 41 when this happened, so 15 years plus of learning how to meditate, practicing meditation, and when I got 40, 41, and I was like, "If I'm gonna have a baby, it's gonna be now," I went on a bit of a spiritual journey of like, "Well, what's the block? Why am I afraid to become a mother?" 'Cause I that was the first thing, and a lot of the yoga teachers also say you should heal your childhood trauma before you become a parent, lest you give that childhood trauma to your children. And so I had been doing a lot of meditation leading up to the pregnancy to work through childhood stuff. And then during the pregnancy, simply in the hopes to bring forth a healthy pregnancy and a beautiful birth experience that I had in my mind, natural warrior mama pushing two twins out, all the things. So I was practiced. It was like I was training for the Olympics before things went sideways. So when they went sideways, I was in the right position. I had the tools and I had the community. And so my two best friends, who are now the godmothers of these children, one of them said, "You have to meet this angel healer that I've met along the way," and all of this. And so I met this woman and she took me through a guided meditation. And then someone else recommended a shaman and I met this person. And I just was open to all of it. The other thing is when you're pregnant, your crown chakra is wide open and the intuition is that you're able to receive divine messages very clearly in a way that you might not be able to otherwise when you're scattered and whatever. So I was able to receive all of these. They were tools really I mean, God's giving you tools to get to where you wanna go. Hold on to it. And then, and a little bit more lighthearted, I was terrified, right? I was doing all the things in the hopes that what I had been studying, Eastern religion and meditation for 15 plus years, was that I could affect the actual shape of this child's heart and all of that stuff. I was still terrified. I don't what if it doesn't work? Or I don't know what if the baby dies, like the whole thing. And I said to my husband, listen, I need a guaranteed laugh every day because I'm crying every day. I'm trying not to, but I'm scared. And. So we went back to season one, episode one of Curb Your Enthusiasm and watched an episode every single night. And I laughed out loud every single night. And I really needed that before I went to bed and did an hour-long meditation routine. You know what I mean?
This is so amazing, Nicole, because I'm a big fan of levity and I believe in humor as a healer. I know some people use it as a bypass. That's not how I use it, but it's how I used to use it.
Yeah.
Uh, but now I use it as a healer and I love because part of that is you needed that levity and that
Yeah.
playfulness and that lightness. Everything couldn't be like so intense and so
Yeah.
right.
Too
You
heavy.
you needed like a mental break. You needed that lightness in your body so that you could continue to stay light.
Yeah. I told my husband at one point towards the end, I said, I feel like I've got my arms up over my head and I'm holding planet Earth and I can't put my arms down and it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier, you know?
Well, you were holding planet Earth. You had 2
Yeah.
babies depending on you for every single thing. Okay, so take us to okay, you've meditated for 5 billion hours a day. You have willed this child to live and the other one to also live.
Mhm.
Now take us to the end scene, okay? It's the end game. What's going on in the end? What was the finish line moment?
It was, really dramatic, of course, the whole thing was so dramatic. These kids made a grand entrance. So, I was gonna check into the hospital when I hit 34 weeks, right? That was a Saturday, it was Saturday, the 5th of September. On the Wednesday, 3 days before that, my water broke. I just woke up in the morning and my water broke, and I panicked, and I called my perinatalogist, she said, "Take a shower, meet me at the hospital." I met her at the hospital. This is deep, dark COVID, this is September 2020. So, I get to the hospital with my husband, and there's a security guard at the door because only patients and doctors could enter. Pregnant women and children could have one visitor. So I said, "I'm in labor." My husband had to wait in the lobby while they took me up to make sure that I was in labor. Then they brought him up. And then, my perinatologist, the cardiologist, and a woman from the legal department showed up. And they did an ultrasound to look at the babies, and then the perinatologist, she locked eyes with me, and my husband was standing next to me, but she really locked eyes with me and said, "We're at 33 weeks, 4 days gestation. These babies' lungs are not developed enough to catch a breath. We have a steroid treatment that we can give you." So it's a shot that the mother takes now. 24 hours later, you take another shot. 24 hours after that, we deliver the babies. And it's like 98% effective in growing their lungs. And I said, "I'll do it." Sign the iPad that the legal department lady has. But hospital procedure is that we put heart monitors on both babies. But if we put a heart monitor on baby B, hospital procedure will demand that we deliver him. We know we can't catch a breath, the whole thing. I said, "Don't monitor his heart. I will know if something goes wrong." I was obviously deeply connected to this child, and every single morning, first thing when I woke up, "Hey, baby, give me a kick. Let me feel you," and all the things. So we decided no heart monitor, sign the legal pad. If
If
they put a heart monitor on baby B, based on the way his heart was beating at the time, they would have to deliver him immediately because he was in danger. His life was in
okay.
danger.
So that would just be the protocol.
The protocol, right. So if I don't want them to follow standard operating procedure, I have to sign the legal pad that I'm not gonna sue them later if that baby dies while I'm waiting 48 hours to take these steroid shots.
Okay, gotcha.
So I did. And then the other thing is, very clearly, this is gonna be a C-section because the baby A, the little girl, she was safe and her umbilical cord and placenta were functioning and she was growing at a healthy pace for a twin, etcetera. Baby B, he's 2 pounds at this point, and they don't think his heart is gonna beat outside my womb. And so this is gonna be a C-section, and there's gonna be a team of doctors from the NICU for each baby to immediately jump. And, that if the baby's heart keeps beating, they have to figure out how to keep it beating until he can double his body weight to get this first life-saving surgery for the hypoplastic left heart, the whole thing. So the other challenge is that I had had a surgery earlier in the pregnancy because I had the cerclage, and they couldn't get the epidural needle in my spine because I have scar tissue around my spine. I had Harrington rod surgery to correct scoliosis as a little girl. So then it got into, if then we're gonna have to put you to sleep. If we can't get the epidural in, we gotta put you to sleep to cut you open and pull your guts out and pull humans out and sew you back and the whole thing. And, um, and then what are we gonna do if the baby's dead and you're asleep? So I just locked eyes with that doctor and I said, if that baby's dead, when you cut me open, you put him in his father's arms right then and there, and you wake me up from that anesthesia. If you can artificially, arbitrarily, somehow keep him alive until you can wake me up from that anesthesia so he can die in my arms, you do that. And the doctors were just staring at me like, "Okay." And they didn't really say, like, if he's dead, but I knew where this conversation was going, so I said it. And then the perinatalogist was like, I said, "If he's going to die, I wanna hold him first, or I at least wanna hold him." And they said, "Okay." And she said, "You're a really strong woman." And I was like, What choice do I have? Here I am, you know? So then I had 48 hours to wait before the surgery, and I was meditating and praying and all the things, and then we woke up at 6:30 AM. The surgery was for 9. So I woke up, I called my best friend on FaceTime. We prayed. We prayed for the doctors and the nurses who were gonna help us that day. We prayed for the spirit guides who were gonna be in the room with us. We prayed for everything, everyone. I was terrified and trying to act tough. And then we went into the operating room, and, there were more people in this operating room than I had at my wedding, no exaggeration. I mean, it was out of control, right? Like, teams for each baby, the surgeon, my perinatalogist who's gonna do the surgery, but and it was at UCLA, so there's also a couple interns, and I said, "Listen, we can have 1 intern, but this is not, uh, not for public consumption." But there were 4 anesthesiologists in there, and they all tried to get the epidural needle in, including the head of anesthesia at UCLA, who's considered one of the best in the world. And in the end, he said, "Listen, we've all tried. We can't get this epidural needle through." I said, I've already mentally prepared for this. I had mentally prepared for every scenario, what might happen. And, I've been meditating for, 110 hours a day for months on end at this point. So I just went into a deep meditation, a very, very vivid and clear image of me walking on the surface of the ocean towards the shore. That was like my last memory. And then my next memory, I was alone in my hospital room. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm okay because here I am. You know what I mean? But I was alone. There's nobody in there. And my husband came in with the baby cardiologist and he said, the baby has no heart disease. Like, he looked like he'd been hit in the head with a 2x4. He was shocked. He had no explanation for it, and I just started crying. But that means we don't need a heart surgery. We don't need to double our weight. Like, it worked. All that meditation, all the things, it worked. So,
Still just like makes me
it's
very
wild. It
just
is actually wild. I did it. I pulled it off.
takes my breath away, Nicole, because the fact that you I mean, every single choice you made up until the moment these babies were brought here, every signature on that fucking iPad was like,
Yep.
would you like this death sentence? Would you like this death sentence?
Yes.
What if this bad thing happened? It was like
Yeah.
every choice you had to make was like the worst choices I've ever heard in my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And you just absolutely stayed the course
Mhm.
with such a conviction. And honestly, you are the only reason, well, other than the fact that he wanted to be here, uh,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
he is really here.
100%. And my husband has said, every woman in your position would have wanted to save the life of her child, but not every woman would have had the tools to do it.
Yeah.
And as not so much a religious person, but a woman of deep faith, I'll say, I believe, when you come to earth, you forget your soul contract. It all becomes blurry and you forget it. And then you're here and you're confused. And why am I here? And what am I doing? I'm pretty positive this is what I was here for. I came to overcome extreme challenge,
Mhm.
to learn what love really is,
100%.
and I had to walk through the fire to do it. And I walked through the fire, and it completely and ultimately changed me forever for the rest of my life.
1000%. And the thing that actually blows my mind the most is that you had this fear about becoming a mother.
Mhm.
Well, of course you did.
Yeah, because that was the thing I was supposed to do.
Yeah. Because somewhere deep down you knew that was your soul contract and what you were gonna have to do.
Mhm.
You were like, "I
Mhm.
don't know if I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can.
Mhm.
I don't know if I want to do it." Right?
Mhm.
You had to get to a place, and by the
Mhm.
way, of course, 41,
Of course.
right? Not 31, not
No.
21.
No, hell no.
40 fucking 1 when you've been through some things, you've lived through some life, you've
Yeah.
done right? You've been
Yeah.
meditating for 107 years. You were so prepared for that moment, whether
Yeah.
you even like, you didn't probably know how prepared you were until they
Right.
said, "There's no heart disease." And you said
Mhm.
and that's when, like, it's almost like all the pieces of the puzzle go click, 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 click,
Yep.
and you go,
Yep.
"That's why I'm here," right? I
Mhm.
mean, that is absolutely I
Mhm.
mean, even hearing it again, it's like I'm hearing it for the first time, I can't even
No. It's crazy. I have to try really hard not to cry. These children are 4 years old, they're happy, they're at preschool with all their pals right now, but it's incredible, and a day or 2 later, my female doctor who was pregnant, who thank God I found her, she came to me and said, "Listen, when you feel ready, you have to document this story because what I saw here was extraordinary."
absolutely.
And this is a woman who's not just a perinatalogist. She went to all the best medical schools, all the fellowships. I mean, she's a highly trained, accomplished practitioner of Western medicine, and I wrote her a letter about what an amazing doctor she was that had nothing to do with any of those accolades, but the fact that she treated me like an intelligent person who she was gonna give information to and then receive information from, and together we were gonna figure out what to do, and I needed that partnership to because I was already doing all that I could. I couldn't be then fighting some doctor trying to tell me sideways stuff I didn't believe in or wanna listen to, you know?
No,
So she was a saint, and I'm appreciative, and I also believe that my spirit guides brought her to me and, the divine energy made it all come together.
well, when you were telling me originally and you told me she was pregnant,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh,
Mhm,
okay,
mhm.
now we're gonna do something," right? Because
Yes.
any woman who's pregnant or is a mother would know that this isn't just a black and white situation, even when it maybe on paper seems so black and white, because the fact is you are pregnant. And so we're going to actually walk through the steps. We're going to actually look at the information. We're not just going to black and white that situation. And so I love when then she reframed that for you and said, "I'm gonna give you the information and then you're gonna make the choices." I mean, when is it not our choice except when
Correct.
these patriarchal doctors and our
Mhm.
society in general tells us it's not? Uh,
Correct.
so that was so beautiful. I wanna know if you had to I mean, you say you've become a totally different person, right? I wanna know if you sat with this old version of you, maybe even in the version of us of that didn't even maybe know they wanted to have a baby at all, or right? Or maybe even in the beginning where you were just like, "I'm having twins, that's cool." Like, right, where you just had no clue what was maybe coming because you don't remember your soul contract. What would you have said to that girl, that one that maybe didn't know she was ready for this challenge or even think this could be possible? What would you say to her knowing because you're different now?
Yeah, I mean, trust in the divine. I needed to have more trust in the divine when I was younger. I was I went through a lot of things when I was young, which now I realize were preparing me to be brave enough to go through this, but I always kind of felt like I was, like, in alone. I felt alone, which is absurd. If you are going through extreme difficulty in life, you are not alone at all. Your spirit guides are there. Your spirit guides are there holding you through it and helping you get through it if you remain sober and steadfast and you stay one foot in front of the other. And I felt so alone during that, which I now feel like is the most absurd notion that I thought I was alone overcoming all this crap. Of course not. Of course not. I was being divinely held the whole entire way. And maybe if I had acknowledged that or realized that or known that, I would have been, I don't know, less afraid. I would have had less fear and more grace, which is what I have now. I'm almost not afraid of anything now and have more grace for myself first and foremost. That's the biggest thing. I used to be very hard on myself. And that doesn't get you anywhere good. That's absurd.
No.
And because I can be softer on myself, it's much easier to be easier on other people as well, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you are truly a hero and a warrior. And it really is a testament to not only the power of the mind and the
Yep.
connection between the fact that you were able to change the entire trajectory of his health, and he's
Mhm.
not even he's in your body and you're like, right? Just thinking of that, it just shows you and all the Joe Dispenza, because I love Joe too, all the Joe Dispenza meditation reporting is now showing us things like, oh, we're just, healing people from Parkinson's and we're just meditating our way. We're literally doing these group healings and just putting our hands out, and people are healing from cancer and all the different things. And I do believe that this will be something that they have in hospitals where, and we're in such a weird time right now, right? There's so many things kind of breaking down in our world. And I think
Yep.
it's very terrifying on a lot of levels to people. But I do also think our healthcare system is stupid and fucked.
It's broken.
You're a testament to that in so many ways, because if you had listened to the first doctor, we wouldn't even be here. If you had
Yeah.
listened to the second doctor, we
Mhm.
wouldn't be here. If
Mhm.
you had even if when she had told you, "Well, actually, it's the same diagnosis," you could have been like, "Okay, fuck, I gotta give it up," right? Like,
Yeah.
you coulda stopped at any point, and everyone would have said, "Nicole, you're right.
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
you're right. You're justified," right?
Yeah.
But the
Mhm.
fact that you knew so much about meditation and you knew the power of it and you knew, right? You
Mhm.
knew what was possible, you were able to harness what was possible.
And I also have come to know that we're divine beings having a human experience, and we are the creators of that experience. So if I need to command this experience to be something other than what is currently being presented, then I can command that that happens. And that's exactly what I did. In the back of my head, I also thought, even if this doesn't turn out the way I want, even if this child dies, I'm going to let this divinely play out. I'm not going to play God and take a beating heart inside my womb and stop that baby's heart. Absolutely not, under no circumstances. If this plays out, and I said to the first doctor, if it's God's will for one or both of these children not to catch a breath, I'm going to have to learn how to live with that. But I will never live with being the one who decided not to give a chance to these children. Absolutely not. And then I really got into, I am the creator of this human experience that I'm having, and I command that this is how it turns out. And then I pulled in all the resources I had. I was asking my friends, I was getting Bible verses from the Torah, verses from the Quran, my friends praying for me in all different religions. I think that whatever religious practice you have, all those messages are going to the same place. So send them all my way. I'll take it.
The inbox was full.
Yes, and I was receiving additional, like, whatever you're sending me, I'm taking it.
100%. So what do you think, what is the message before we wrap up? I just wanna What is the takeaway? Like, there's someone right now that's listening to this podcast, and maybe they know somebody who's gotten a diagnosis, or maybe they know, or maybe they have a diagnosis, or maybe they're having a problem, trusting their intuition, or maybe they haven't even started meditating yet, or don't even know the power. So, what do you feel like when you kind of divinely intuit as we sit here? What do you think? What do you think the message is that people should walk away with today?
Okay, number 1, you are a divine spirit having a human experience, and it's up to you to create that experience and command for it to be what you need, which means that you're gonna have to walk through the fire. But if you want it to end up how you want it to end up, then get real brave, which is being afraid and going ahead anyway, and walk through the fire, and just keep your eye on, say out loud, the sound current is really important. Say out loud, believe in your heart, keep your journal, write it down. This is how this is going to end up. And all the difficulty along the path is part of it, but you just keep walking through the fire and commanding that it turns out how you want to. and then accept all the love from every direction, whatever friends pray in whatever language they pray in.
Yeah, always accept all of that love, all receive I mean, if any that's one thing I did learn, I didn't want anyone doing anything for me.
Yeah.
When I was in the hospital, I learned that that was not gonna work real quick.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, "Wait, how am I making dinner and driving home from the hospital and
Yeah.
coming back at the next morning?" Right. So yes, all the receiving. Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for I mean, I'm so excited to share your story. I do think this is a book. I do think this is more things, maybe 10,000 documentaries, I don't know, but people need to study you. People need to study you, write books about you. Um, you
I
know
think there are lots of people in the world who've had similar experiences to this, and if we're brave enough to say it out loud, because I some people are gonna listen to this and be like, "That's insane. The doctors had the wrong diagnosis, blah, blah," whatever. I don't care. I know exactly what happened. I was there. My husband watched the whole thing, my friends, and I know that there are other people who've had similar experiences, Joe Dispenza being one of them, and if we all start saying it, then maybe people are like, "Hey, it can't be that nuts if all of these people have had a similar experience. Maybe I should try what they tried."
and on that note, I'm just gonna leave it right there. Thank you. I love you, and I'm so happy that you came on today because this is one hell of a story. All right,
Yours.
everybody, join us next time on the Liz Swadek Show. We gotta see it to believe it, but guess what? You gotta believe it first. Bye, everyone.